Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another Foundry review here on the channel. My name is 97 John Boy, joined by Kylo, and today we're going to be checking out Nosferatu, the 2024 remake here, directed by our beloved Robert Eggers here, who's done works like The Witch, The Lighthouse, a couple others. I believe it's his fourth film, I think. Yeah. A really great film, an amazing film. I think 2024 is actually a very good year for horror movies in general. But Kylo, we're gonna be talking about Nosferatu. No spoilers yet. When we get to the spoiler section, we will let you guys know.
Like you said, we're gonna jump into like the non-spoiler stuff. I would have to say easily for 2024, this was probably one of my number one horror movie, easily.
Nice. I agree, and I think thematically it is interesting, kind of thriller and a weird take on romance as well.
Yeah. So I know you said that I didn't. I kind of wish I did. I didn't. But you said going up to this, you watched the original Nosferatu.
Yes, I turned on the original 1922 or something. I don't remember the original date for the old school Nosferatu. But yeah, I watched the
It was
original.
basically 100 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 100-year anniversary of this. So yeah, that came out in 1922. Yeah. 100-year anniversary of Mr. Count Orlok and a Nosferatu. And yeah, I watched it. It's a silent movie, just music playing on the background kind of thing. So watching this was like a really great adaptation and added so much, but like had just enough too. Like Willem Dafoe's character and Ralph Ineson's character, and seeing like Aaron Taylor Johnson as well is really great too. Bill Skarsgård did such a fucking great job with Count Orlok. I like the transformation of that, the makeup, everything like that is so perfect. Like it's so ever loving perfect. I honestly, if there were any deleted scenes, I would want them back. You know, you must bounce on a crazy like just the voice, because I believe that he actually went through a lot of vocal training as well with kind of opera experts to kind of train his voice and his gutturals whenever working on the film. That way he could be speaking from deep down, like his throat, you know, like down to his lungs, so just using his vocal cords, like just an extreme measure, you know, of trying to portray a very dark and intimidating character. And I think he did such a fucking excellent job, but also extremely different from the original too.
Hell yeah. I was a huge fan of that. I didn't know he went through like vocal training for that, but I can easily see it. That's probably something I would never be able to do. Like, how the depth and raspiness to his voice was something else. Especially able to like kind of hold like a not a language barrier, but like a region sort of like as well. Like I think he portrayed that very well. Like you said.
Yeah, I forgot. Is it Romanian? I believe it's like an old Romanian.
Yeah, yes. It's
Germanic.
like Germany or Romanian, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very I forget what it's actually called, but like it's actually lost. I think Dacian, I believe it is, Dacian. I can't remember the actual like pronunciation, because I remember him actually talking about it, how they constructed like remnants of the language, and so he like had to learn an entire new language, and they had to piece together like parts of a dead language that hasn't been used in like over a very long time, I can say for sure. And just just everything looks so perfect. Like the atmosphere, the sets, the characters, everyone did everything for a reason. Like Friedrich, his little shit character, like I even really liked him. You know, like you could feel his stress and anxiety like throughout the entire film as well. Ellen was just losing her goddamn mind. Thomas Hutter, I felt terrible for him. Is just it's a very, very good movie, very good cast as well. I really like Willem Dafoe, his science. They're exploring their pseudoscience and their actual like medical like medicines, how they're actually like kind of looking for how to solve it. You know, like I enjoyed the investigation and the mystery of them trying to solve it. That was probably one of my favorite parts, honestly. Him going
Yeah, I would say I was a huge fan of like Willem Dafoe and being like early on stage paranormal investigator, I guess, and
pretty
an
much
occult
expert.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Because this takes place in Germany, Frankfurt.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah, I can't really remember. Uh, Apparently, it was filmed in Romania and the Czech Republic in Prague. Cool. That's where Kingdom Come Deliverance is around there. That's interesting.
Wisborg. It's Wisborg.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that place. Um, yeah, it's a very just a dark, looming film. It's kind of funny at some points too. You know, you can make a laugh at it because it's very funny. I think it is, but like just the
Even at the moments that are like kind of serious. Yeah.
I feel like if you can look at it and you can kind of think it's kind of funny, you know, in some cases, which is cool. Um, I think like the history of Nosferatu as well is really interesting as well. How it was a Dracula knockoff, like from Bram Stoker's Dracula, and how they pretty much sent a cease and desist by the Bram Stoker like estate because he pretty much like created like gave vampirism like a fucking big like wake up call and created a new genre, and Nosferatu kind of hopped on that as well, but illegally, you know. So they actually were forced to destroy all copies of the original film, and people who pirated the film, in some cases, those were the only surviving copies that actually like that were saved throughout history. So like that's really important, and it's a very cool thing to see like media in some cases actually being saved. You know, it's a big thing with like video games as well, because like consoles and online marketplaces become obsolete, and ways to watch movies also become obsolete in different versions. You know, the original like Star Wars, you know, as well as a very obsolete almost way to watch it because of just different updated copies. And you think of like even tiny like games on cell phones that are just gone. You know, it can no longer be viewed, played, or anything like that. It's just gone, just lost media. But it's great that it's definitely like Nosferatu. Like you get to see that like 100 years later. It's very important to.
And it is interesting, yeah, that it survives just based off of pirating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like the take on like vampirism being a plague. It's very cool. The Vampire game did a really good job on that as well, of how they just try to go back to bubonic kind of like the Black Plague type of thing like that, of just killing people, and it's a great movie. I'm ready for spoilers. You?
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys don't want any spoilers, you should probably, you know, take a step out, because we are gonna we're gonna cover the rest of the movie now with some spoilers. So if you guys want to click off, now's a good time. So we'll do it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. Kylo, what's your favorite scene of the entire film?
So, man,
I hit you with a hard one.
it's it's a tie between two, and one of them wasn't even that serious of a scene, but it was still kind of cool to see it. Like you said, it kind of does depict like Bram Stoker's Dracula, like the book, and it's a tie between this scene being funny, Bill Skarsgård draining Thomas like while he's like naked above him. I watched like interviews and stuff like that with him, and it was funny because like I guess Bill Skarsgård, whenever he was on top of him, he's like I guess he like broke character at one point, and he's like, I'm not like compressing you too much, am I? He's like, no, but your penis is touching. Which
funny.
Was phenomenal. I love that. And I guess like they made it even more grotesque and like oblong or whatever. Yeah, but no, my favorite scene, just movie wise and based off of like you said, Bram Stoker's Dracula, was like the little tidbits where like Dracula is actually sailing over, and you see like bits of the voyage of the Demeter. Like the boat itself, the crew going through
fucking
I thought
awesome.
That was really cool.
Yeah. It's really funny how they even kept the same like lore of original Nosferatu, how he gets his power from his coffin. So every night he has to return, or every day he has to return back to his coffin, and he has to sleep in it, you know, because he has to get the power back, because he was originally buried, and that dirt from his grave is what empowers him. You know, that's what the really cool thing is, like that. It's that lore of Nosferatu they kept like 100 years later and kept consistent with it too. My favorite scene.
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool.
It's got to be like the introduction at Nosferatu, like Count Orlok's original castle in Romania. I think that was fucking dope. Um, just like their interactions, spooky, just quiet, just awkward, you know. And it's really funny too because it's just like two guys having a conversation, and he's like, "Hey, what's up with these villagers doing weird stuff?" And he's like, do not fret about it. And he asks another question, just like starts yelling at him. You know, it's a really
Mhm.
cool part. I just really obsess over Count Orlok's character. I think he's super fucking cool, and I think the way he's stylized, kind of like an old like Russian czar, kind of like the best way to describe him is like a vampiric Rasputin. I think, to where he just has
Exactly. Yeah.
these spells over people, you know, too, which is really interesting. Just like kind of Rasputin had these weird like spells, like he was kind of spooky, you know,
Mhm.
which I thought was a really cool depiction of a really interesting way to show up them because and all of the Nosferatu, I think there's like a 90s Nosferatu remake as well. Like they're just kind of like all bald, long fingers, which they kept, and like really awkward looking teeth. But like they did a very a modernized version of Nosferatu, but kept so much respect for the original still. Um, the fantasy kind of love between Thomas and Ellen is it's cute, but it's also very it's so fucked up too because she is such a damaged person who has been taken granted for, and it's like it's just a weird feeling of her just constantly being like under the hold and like under the grasp of Count Orlok, and it's just like presumed to be love, but it's just like a deep obsession where she's just
A constant like, yeah,
tricked into it, you know, the entire time. And
in a constant trance and not able to do anything about it.
yeah, trance. That's like the perfect word for it. Is just trance. Oh, you know, another great scene is when Willem Dafoe and Severs, Dr. Severs, they torch his coffin, where his new mansion that he got.
Yeah, I love how ballistic Willem Dafoe went.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was going fucking nuts on it. He's like, "We burn this shit down, son." He was going crazy. He loved it. It was pretty good there.
So I think, like at the beginning of the movie where we see Ellen first, like, have her first, I assume first, or at least one of the very first, like, psychological breakdowns. I think that's that same mansion that Count Orlok moved into, just
Really?
like more decayed and ruined. Yeah, it looked like it. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it was like the same place. I was kind of curious, like, what happened? Like, why was she living there in the first place? Was it an asylum? Was it her home? Like, why did it become decayed? And like, how?
I
Like,
don't know.
so many questions arose that were.
She obviously had a hard or a difficult upbringing because she had this darkness, this depression, this melancholy that she's been dealing with her entire life. But what she later called the melancholy, it was Count Orlok. So Count Orlok had a obsession with her most of her adult life, I guess, because she's quite young in this film. I don't know how old, but they're both a young couple, and it's kind of even more fucked up
Mhm.
because he's an old ass vampire like with this teenager or young woman, and she's like her depression is linked to his obsession and grasp over her, creating this trance where she can't have a normal life because he's sees her as a like a, it's just kind of this his affliction he calls it, you know, to where she's not allowed to move on. So at some
Yeah.
point, I don't know what, but like he just stops fucking with her or something, you know, and then moves back to Romania, and then he's like, "Oh, I need her to give me her she needs to do the verbal contract with me again." And it's just like, why did he leave and then be like, "Oh shit, she moved on and she got married. I need to go back." And then she convinced her knock to create some spell. Like I don't know the chronological events of everything happening because that's what really confuses me. I'm like, did her knock create this? Did he contacted by Count Orlok first? Did like I don't
The
understand
way
like
I kind of perceived it, the only thing I can assume is like, she called out to the night, like, cult wise or like spiritually wise, and like he found her at that young age, and I guess he knew. I think he knew that like he could have her, but there was no rush on it until like Thomas came along, and then he realized like, oh fuck, I need to get her. And then like all these events I think start to come into play. That's the only thing I can really assume. Like that being like the first encounter she had at the beginning of the movie, I assume like she had found Thomas at that point, or started seeing Thomas, and then like the spells or the trances started happening. She would like freak out at night, but only herself during the day.
It's very, yeah, that's the only thing that I know. It's not like the film's not missing a plot point or anything. I was just kind of confused on the chronological events of like what caused what and what led to what. A really kind of interesting note and fucked up note as well is Aaron Taylor Johnson's character Friedrich, which is the best friend of Thomas. He is a very rich man who like all his money came from his like estate, like his parents and stuff like that, from his father. Runs his father's business, took his father's home, and at some point they're conversing right when Thomas, before he leaves he leaves for his big trip. They're jealous of each other's like lifestyle and stuff, and because Friedrich knows that Thomas is a self-made man, like he's earning what he's going out to earn his bag, when instead like Friedrich's been given his bag, and he's valued in high society for having money, just having it, not even earning it. And that's the lifestyle that Thomas wants. He wants that larger estate and that more money for a more lavish lifestyle to give Ellen, because it's he just a little bit wants some glory, and the thing is, like, Ellen doesn't want him to go. She just wants love with him. And he's like, no, I have to provide. Like, I have to do these society standards kind of thing, which is really interesting. And that's one of, like, them beefing a little bit, too, later in the film between Friedrich and Ellen, when Friedrich blames Ellen for causing his wife to kind of go crazy a little bit. And she's like, you're not a man. Like, you're just a fucking, like, puppet. And he just, the way he responds, it just like throws money. He's like, I'll pay for you to leave. You can go. He's just like insanely disrespectful, and like his only big personality trait is just money. And just another thing I saw that was he was so obsessed with his wife and just treated her as a baby making machine, and just pretty much used her just until he could get a son. And that's why he was so obsessed with like her new pregnancy, little Friedrich, he called him, or something, and that's why like he just was so like obsessed with her image and not her actual like personality. Like, he didn't have a wife, he just had a fuck toy that would give him a son. That's all he cared about, even up until the very last part of the film, to where she's dead and he fucks her dead body, because that's what all he obsesses over, is just like her body, and that's the only thing that interests him, which leads to his death. It is such a fucked up character. That's, I think, like, it is the grossness of him unraveling. I feel like is worse than Count Orlok in some cases, and Aaron Taylor Johnson, he's such a fucking cool like character, and you can just see the stress of him running his business and the decline like of his fucking family's mental health too, including his own, and trying to do right for his best buddy. Like, it's a really interesting case. I really like it.
It's like you said, it's interesting seeing like the slow decay of him. Comparing the two, like, I'd like to quote what exactly like Bill Skarsgård said in the movie. Count Orlok is just an appetite, while that dude is just kind of a scumbag in general.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I guess money does that.
Yep, he created a monster, to where he doesn't have that love like Thomas has for Ellen. He just wants the love. Like, he wants to be loved, or wants to love, to verb love, But I really like, I'd say like my favorite, like every character is so strong to where they're so likable and they're fun and they're great, like even Aaron Taylor Johnson's wife, she's like so accepting and loving and understanding and supportive in every decision with every character that she comes across, and there's at some point she, when she kind of has those spells that Ellen was having, she's like, what has happened to me? She's like, you're free. Like, you're not being held down by these society standards that you have to be a wife and a fuck toy, you know? You are kind of off the deep end a little bit. You kind of aren't, you don't have these restrictions, you know? And that's what got Friedrich so angry, is that his wife wasn't like being submissive anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The Ralph Inson's character, the Sievers, love him. More ether, you know? He's fucking funny. Speaking of like restrictions,
I will say this, like the.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry.
Mhm.
It's. I am sure that Ellen, absolutely, like that week or so, like until like Count Orlok comes along and like does his thing, like it was probably hell for her, because daytime, like she was constantly sedated until like Thomas actually came back, and
It's like
then
3
just
months.
restrained, and then nighttime. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do kind of feel bad for her at some point, but it is funny watching like all these men, like old mindsets, like just doing their thing, like, oh, it's no problem, just a little bit of ether just to fucking knock her out. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. What's that called? When there's a big group of people and they freak out. What is that called again? I cannot remember it.
Big group of people and they freak out.
Yeah, it's like, hey, if one person freaks out, then another, like, more people freak out because of the freak out.
Oh, mass hysteria.
Yeah, hysteria. So hysteria comes from olden days. Doctors and professors would call that like misunderstood kind of mood swings with a lot of women, and they would just be like, oh, it's hysteria, like it's mass hysteria, you know. They would just kind of dismiss it and say like only women can get hysteria. That used to be a diagnosis, I think. So that's a really interesting portrayal, like how these doctors are dismissive of her spells, you know. It's like, who knows, like it's not much, you know, just knock her out, you know. And just the restrictions, and she's just being forced and being kept small, and she's not free for most of the movie, even with the corset, you know, of her being tied down physically. And there's a really big moment where she like kind of unleashes, she breaks free from all the society restrictions and her own self, and she finally like is fucking, she's just kind of like let loose, you know, but like still under the grasp of Count Orlok, unfortunately. So it's a very weird movie because she's constantly like under the restrictions of society, and
either under the grasp, yeah,
and under the grasp of Count Orlok, you know. So it's like this woman knows no freedom, and the only freedom that she did have, she chose to love Thomas, you know. And it's a very beautiful story with that. Good shit. Oh, good stuff there. I really enjoy it. I could probably talk a lot about this. I've watched a lot of stuff on it. You know, a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, it's me regurgitating a lot of things that I've heard other people say stuff too. Like, there is some original thought there too, like that I kind of mixed in with there. But
we should probably bring up too, like along the way, as like Thomas is going to the castle to meet Count Orlok, we actually see a vampire encounter with the Romanian Germanic, slaying a vampire like in his grave, which I thought was pretty amazing. I love that.
Yeah, I thought
even
that
though it was like a small
stunning
tidbit. Yeah.
Was that real?
I think like technically it was like a dream of his, but like I do think it was real, because like you remember like in the castle he tried to bring it up to Count Orlok until he was like, enough. Like I fear that like a man with your such modern mind wouldn't be able to understand the back roots of like this
discussing rituals
backwards
and stuff.
Country. Yeah, basically, yeah. He's like, I long for the world of a modern man, like a modern city, and more intellectually built like city, which would think like vampires are like that's a joke. That's just like a folk tale.
Yeah, and just it's really interesting too because he just wants to move so bad. Like I thought that he wanted to move because he wants a more modern like hunting ground, one that's not aware of him, that don't practice such backwoods rituals, you know, because the backwoods rituals are killing him, you know. That's the ritual. But I mean,
obviously it was for Ellen, but I think that was kind of like a subsidiary thing too, which was kind of cool, like I said.
I think I've kind of gotten over most of everything, you know. He's got a great mustache, got a great hat, great cock, you know, like people love him. Count Orlok, he's the man. What about the murder? What murder? You know? I think.
Yeah, I like you said, I don't think I could give any notes whatsoever. The movie was phenomenal. I loved it. Everybody did such an exceptional job. Personally, my favorite character is a tie between the Doctor and Willem Dafoe, but it probably has to go to Willem Dafoe. I love how like here he portrays like an occult. He was like I think a teacher or
Is
a professor
yeah.
of the occult. And, yeah, of the occult and strange events.
Like
There's another
pseudoscience.
word I can't. Word, but...
Fringe.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Yeah.
They're my favorite characters, but I say the most powerful performances like is definitely it's got to be Ellen, it's got to be Count Orlok, and it's got to be Aaron Taylor Johnson. It's just like him losing his family and stuff. It's fucking horrifying. You know, like it's very sad. Everyone has such a great performance too. There's just, I'm gonna give it a 10. Fuck it. It's a 10. It's a 10 for me. I don't care.
I'm good. Me too. 10.
10?
Solid 10.
There you go. Foundry review 10, baby. That's Nosferatu 2024. Came out on Christmas Day, son. We're quite late, but thank you everyone for tuning in, watching our review, and watching us ramble about it. We really appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to drop some support for the slugs and let us know down below in the comments what you thought about the movie yourself. But don't forget to drop some other recommendations for some other horror film reviews. We'll see you guys later on the next Foundry video. But until then, bye guys.
Bye.